All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the NFL picks videos. I am so excited for this. We have Thursday night football, week number 1. The Eagles taking on the Cowboys. In today's video, I'm going to dive into this game. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'm going to give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about a few player prop spots that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest, if you do want to fade me, all of that is absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. Now, in terms of how we did last year, let's talk a little bit about last year before we do dive into this 2025 season. We had our best NFL season on the channel to date. Over 75 units in the green last year. Now, largely in part due to the Eagles winning the Super Bowl and the NFC. We had 2 futures last year. Both of those came true, so we'll take that. But ultimately had a really good player prop year. Money lines went well for us. Totals went well for us. In fact, there was not a category that we partook in that we had a negative number. So we'll see if we can do anything remotely close to that this season. Very excited to give it our best shot. But let's go ahead and get ready to dive into this game, guys. Very, very, very excited if you couldn't tell. If you're excited as well, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's get rocking here. Actually, real quick, did want to remind you that we still have some spots available in our Survivor contest. If we fill this pool up, I think we're about halfway there as of right now, the winner's going to walk home with nearly $3,000. It costs just $10 to enter, and you can enter up to 5 times if you do want to diversify the teams that you're taking. If you guys don't know what a Survivor contest is, it's very simple, very fun, does include a lot of strategy, though. All you have to do, easier said than done, right? Pick one team to win each and every week. If they win, you survive. You move on to the next week. If they lose, yeah, hit the road, Jack, right? But the catch is that you can only choose each team once. So say you really like the Bills in week number 1 and they win. Okay, you move on to week 2. That's great. The catch is you can't use the Bills for the rest of the season, so it definitely involves some strategy. Check out the link down in the description as well as the pinned comment, guys. $10 to enter. Again, if we fill this up, the winner will take home nearly $3,000. Someone did that last year when we did it. Let's see if we can do it again. Fill this pool up. Go ahead and sign up. All right, right now at the time of recording, Eagles 8.5-point favorites. This line has moved all over the place, I believe, opening up middle summer at 6.5 and hung on just about, I would say, like 10 days ago, hung on to that 6.5. Now it is moving all over right now, sitting at 8.5 here, 8 in some places. So we'll keep an eye on that line. The total, similar, right? Total we saw at 46 plenty, now is up to 48.5. Eagles are at home. They're obviously coming off of an amazing season last year. They go 14-3 and ultimately win the Super Bowl. The Cowboys, on the other hand, same division, right? 7-10. These two squads played each other last year, and the Eagles stomped them in the last 2 meetings here. You had 34-6. 41-7, which obviously they covered in both of those games. 7-point favorites, 7.5-point favorites. But based on how much they won by, wasn't exactly all that close, right? I will say there's so much going on with this Cowboys team. If you somehow live under a rock, you've probably missed that Micah Parsons got traded, but I imagine most people don't live under a rock. Yes, a Cowboys defense that isn't all that good to begin with. Now with no Micah Parsons, also on the injury report, over Sean, there's a few other guys that are in kind of the core of that defense. But ultimately speaking, I don't even know if the injuries matter. This Cowboys defense doesn't look like it's going to be good and looks even worse after the Micah Parsons trade. On the Eagles side of things, they do have a couple notable injuries. I mean, one being Nakobe Dean. He is out here. Looks like everyone else in the defense should be okay. Uche's questionable, Makuba questionable, but realistically, Dean being the only one that's out. Now, we do see a couple question marks. A.J. Brown and Smith have been on and off the injury report, I believe, as of yesterday at the time of recording. Both guys should be good to go. They're not even listed with an injury designation whatsoever. So where do we go in this game? Well, first off, let's take a peek at both of the quarterbacks, okay? We'll toss it over to the Guy Boston Sports NFL dashboard here, and you can see these are all last year's numbers. We don't have any this year's data to go off of, so keep that in mind as we go through this. But Dak Prescott does have some struggles against man. You can see anything red here means that it doesn't compare well to his normal numbers, and it's pretty apparent man versus zone, Dak Prescott has some struggles. We scroll down on the dashboard here, you'll see that this is a Philly defense, and obviously we expect them to be very similar as last year, that plays a ton more man than they do zone. Third to last in terms of zone frequency last year, third most in terms of man coverage. So I don't exactly expect Dak Prescott to be in the best of situations here. That said, I do think that they'll be throwing the ball a lot. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on in the video. Then we flip it over to Jalen Hurts, who obviously kind of has some mixed numbers, and I don't even know if this is sort of the cowbell type of player that we need on this Phillies team for them to succeed. He has such a good team around him, good wide receivers, good offensive line, obviously Saquon back there, that even if he does have some struggles, this team can kind of prevail in a lot of different cases, right? So he's going to be a guy that has a mixed bag in terms of zone versus man. If we look at what the Cowboys do, they don't really run too much zone, more man in general. But again, this defense is going to be bad. We probably expect these numbers to drop a little bit in terms of blitz and pressure. No Micah Parsons, but either way, even if they do send the blitz, which like we just saw, right? They do actually blitz a top 10 amount. Jalen Hurts actually pretty damn good against the blitz. So I don't think that he's in the worst of situations. When it comes to offense and defense, this is a lopsided affair. Yes, we're looking at last year's data, but at the same time, what has changed to make us think otherwise, right? Dallas should still be a worse offense than the Eagles. Yes, they get George Pickens, and yes, Dak Prescott, if he stays healthy, could have a good year, but the run game probably won't be there. It's not like they had a good run game in the first place, and this is a decent run defense on the Eagles side of things in the first place as well, right? So I don't necessarily see the Dallas Cowboys having this great offensive success against the Philadelphia defense. On the flip side, I think the Eagles could go out there and score a decent amount of points. You see Dallas allowing the second most points per game last season, Eagles fourth most points per game. You can see they really did struggle in the run game defensively. Eagles pretty damn good at running the ball. You can even see DVOA wise. This is based on the positions. Dallas, plenty of success to the quarterback and wide receiver number 3, but even here, like in the running game, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, nothing too strong from them defensively. Whereas there's only one bright spot, and it's not even that bright, it just looks bright amongst these Reds. Wide receiver 3s have some success against Philadelphia. So we do have obviously one really good defense, one really bad defense, one really good offense, one really bad offense. The writing seems to be on the wall. Now, do I think Dallas comes out fired up and maybe competes for a little bit? Sure, but at the end of the day, I still expect the Eagles to get the job done. Maybe in the first half or something like that to get a more manageable line, because 8.5 is a decent number. Let's not forget that these two teams do see each other a lot. They're in the same division. A lot of the times division games stay close, but there's just not enough on the Dallas side for me to even consider them plus 8.5. So if someone's sitting there being like, oh, I think this is going to be a close game, then sure, take your 8.5 points, but I'm going to lean towards the Eagles minus 8.5. I will say I do have a few player props that we'll get to towards the end of this video that I like probably a little bit more than both the side and the total in this one, just because I think that it's easier to kind of analyze and project as to what we'll see in terms of volume. But ultimately, yeah, it's week number 1. Take everything that I'm saying and anyone else is saying with a grain of salt, guys. We have last year's data to go off of. We have some, conspiracies or projections for this season, but we don't have any recent history to really run with. So anything that we're saying obviously is going to be based on stats and numbers that happened a long time ago or something that hasn't happened yet. So just take it all with a grain of salt. I do like the player props in this game, but let's talk a little bit about the total here. It's sitting at 48.5 right now, and like I already mentioned, the last 2 times they played, they scored 40 points and then 48 points. So why is this total so high? I think it's going to be due to a couple different reasons. If we dive into the FTN pace tool here, you'll see that Dallas, this is all last year's data. Yet again, I'm going to hear me say that like a broken record. They had the lowest seconds per snap rating last season. The Eagles had the highest, or third highest, I should say, no huddle percentage, right? Pass play percentage, Dallas is obviously going to be very, very high here, top 6 in the league, and I expect them to pass the ball even more. So there's a ton of things that come into play here when thinking about this total. You do have the Eagles that probably should dominate time of possession, probably should move down the field, running no huddle offense fairly easily and put up some decent numbers. Then on the other side, even if you don't really believe in Dallas being able to score or being able to play that well, Swiss cheese defense and a team that even if the offense isn't moving all that great and first down converting and all that, they still should play fairly fast. And when they do play, they should be passing the ball. So as much as it kind of pains me to say with the Eagles defense on the field, I don't necessarily mind the idea of an over 48 here in this spot. Now, if you really had a gun to my head, what would I probably look at? I think the more trustworthy spot may be to consider somewhat of an Eagles team total over. That could be something that we get to. That way we don't have to worry about Dallas even putting up anything. But again, I do think that there's some degree, people might be sleeping on the Dallas offense with the addition of Pickens and somewhat of a pass-catching backfield. Dak Prescott may be able to move the ball a little bit, right? So I don't necessarily mind the over. You could see where these odds lie in terms of the Eagles team total over, right? I think this is actually the Cowboys team total over for the Eagles. You could see here 27.5 is probably the number you're looking at, maybe 26.5 if you want to pay a little juice to get that number. Head to head last year, they obviously had 34 and 41, so they kind of crushed that overall. So yeah, in terms of this game, like I mentioned, I do think the spot that I would consider would be the Eagles as well as the over. That being said, both of those numbers seem pretty damn efficient to me, and I think you're still asking a lot of the Eagles and both teams to be able to cover that line and hit the over. There's just nothing on the Dallas side of things that would even make me think that, that 8.5 is a good look. Now, before we do move on to the player prop portion of the video, guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about Chalkboard. If you have not checked out Chalkboard yet, you need to do so. They have an unbeatable promo going on right now, and I mean unbeatable. Right now, if you sign up using the link down in the description or the pinned comment, or just sign up using code GUYBOSS and make sure to use that code, it's going to trigger a free $20. No deposit necessary. Are they out of their minds? Go ahead and check it out. If Chalkboard is available in your state, and we have a graphic on the screen depicting which states it's available in, if it's available in your state and you're not on there yet, now is the time to do so. Again, link down in the description as well as the pinned comment. Make sure to use code GUYBOSS to trigger that free $20. If you're like, what the heck is Chalkboard? What am I getting myself into? I'm down for $20, but what else does it entail? It is a player prop DFS app in which I've now included game picks, so it's really cool. It was a little while ago, you pick more or less based on player set projections, you throw them into an entry, the more you get correct, the more you get paid out, right? Simple enough. But now they even have game lines in there. You can pick a team to win, you can pick the total going over or under. Really, really cool stuff, guys. Go ahead and check it out. Get your free $20 today. Again, that link will be down below in the description as well as the pinned comment. Now let's get into the player prop portion of this video. So just from a DVOA adjusted defense versus position perspective, say that 10 times quick, we can see here that Dallas, pretty weak two quarterbacks. Anything that's green means an easy matchup. Anything that's red means it's a hard matchup. So Dallas, this is their defense. So Jalen Hurts being the quarterback, probably in a decent spot. You can even see here Dallas's Dallas's defense against the wide receivers, not all that great. So I do think AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Jahan Dotson as the 1, 2, and 3 could be good. That said, Saquon's probably going to get a hefty workload if this game goes according to plan, right? If the Eagles have a lead, they're going to want to run the ball and that type of thing. I will say maybe Dallas Goedert is not a great look because out of everything, Dallas has been, treacherous defensively, not so much against tight ends, minus 2.5 in terms of their adjusted defense against. So I think a couple spots that we want to target would be one thing that I mentioned already, and it's going to be Dak Prescott here, over 35.5 pass attempts. I think you can get a better number here in terms of odds for 36.5. I don't know if that's going to matter all that much, that one, pass attempt. Geez, God forbid it does. But even still, he's hit this line, last year in 50% of his games. On the road, I believe it was only 2 of the games, so sure. But he still averaged just under it at 33, right? And on the season, he averaged nearly 36 pass attempts. What I like here is head-to-head, you could see he went over in both of those games. And I already mentioned, I think that this is going to be a spot in which Dak has to pass the ball a decent amount this year. Check out this running back core, right? I mean, you have Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders. If you want to include Jalen Blue, sure, but are those really going to be any workhorse backs? I don't think so. So yeah, I do think that Dak's going to be in charge of this offense like he has been in years past, but not so much managing the offense. He's going to be airing it out. And now they have George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson taking another step up. Even without the idea of their running backs not being all that great, I would expect the Cowboys to be a pass-first offense in the first place. And we already talked about it, right? A team that had the most, pass percentage. It was, the Dallas are up there, but, Dallas, in terms of seconds per snap and top 6 in pass play percentage. That was last year in which they had I guess you could say a better running game and, a better defense and all that can all kind of affect this. Now they're just kind of on their own, and I think Dak's kind of out there, so expect a lot of, here we goes, and airing out. I like his over 36 or 35 and a half pass attempts here. If you want to look at his completions, we can do that as well. By the way, guys, the tool that we're using right now is Outlier, my favorite player prop research tool. If you do want to check it out, I just talked about Chalkboard. You could probably beat Chalkboard by downloading Outlier and using this damn thing. There's a QR code right above my head right now, or just use the link down in the description. You get 7 days free. Go ahead and check it out. I don't mind his completions because you're getting plus 100 here, but again, if we do refer back to our dashboard, my concern is him against, obviously, the zone. Him against the man, 56% completions. His attempts go up against man, that's great, but the completion percentage definitely drops. I mean, actually more of an interception rate too, so nothing too redeeming there overall. So yeah, I think the attempts would probably be a better look unless you want somewhat of plus money for Dak, right? Now, we talked about Dak. Let's talk about a receiver that is going to be new to him now, George Pickens. A couple props that I'm liking. And again, guys, keep an eye on the final plays down in the pinned comment. Everything we like here, I believe, has some value, has some legs. But in terms of what we actually roll with ourselves, those will be listed for anyone that's interested down there in the post in the pinned comment. But George Pickens, I like his over longest reception here. I mean, he absolutely crushed this a year ago in 12 of 15 games. Even one of those, he came up just shy. I think he's going to get a decent amount of work and amount of volume. So I don't mind his over 4.5 receptions either at plus 125. This is going to be a guy that is, I think, going to carve out the role, which, no surprise, similar to what he was in Pitt. The guy that kind of takes the top off or is more of a deep route type guy, allowing CD to be the underneath guy, which helps this longest reception. But I don't mind him actually getting free and breaking free in man coverage. Now, we can look at his numbers. What you're seeing right now is man. If I flip it over here and you see those numbers change, that's man versus zone. Obviously, very small differences, but anyways, man here, you could see targets per game 4.7. This is the last year's numbers, obviously a new offense, but I expect him still to be the same. The point I'm trying to make here is George Pickens is better against man, and we know now Philadelphia plays a lot of man, right? 4.7 targets per game compared to 2.6 targets per game from man versus zone. You look at his target percentage at 14.9 against zone. Okay, toss it over to man, 22.4, right? Absolutely love that. Yards per game, 41.5 against man, 22.5 against zone. Even just looking at his targets and receptions numbers from a year ago, those things absolutely skyrocket when we get to zone versus man. So I do think that he's going to be the guy that Dak can target in the man coverage situations, because again, Dak's going to be looking for guys that are open against man because he's not all that great against man. So I don't think he's going to be throwing some of these 50-50 balls, or at least he shouldn't be, even though it would help the attempts when being pressured and in man coverage and all that. And even if we look at the same thing for CD Lamb, right, you could see this is against man, 3.4 receptions per game, against zone 3.3. The yards definitely change, and so does the target percentage and all that. But ultimately, CD's going to be the guy underneath, right? I do think that George Pickens is going to get some separation for either those medium routes, maybe some crossers, or some of the deep plays as well. That's why I like both his receptions for plus money, as well as taking a peek at him for his longest reception over 22.5. And for anyone confused, you don't need to catch this in the air. He could catch a screen pass, for 2 yards and run another 21 yards for a 23-yard gain, and that still counts. Now, this one may be a slight lean, but it's also something that is worth considering. We already had mentioned how Dallas, if anything, was decent against the tight end position, right? Now we have Dallas Goedert, his receptions line sitting at 3.5. I'll come out and say this right away. That is very much a doable line for him. Would it surprise me if he gets 4? No. But if we look at his last 3 matchups here against Dallas, playing in one of them last year and then 2 of them the year prior, he's gone under in 2 of these games. Even in the game in which he went over, he caught 4 of 4 targets, which isn't all that likely just in general, right? And like I mentioned, I do expect this to be a Philadelphia team that is running the ball a lot, at least in this game. I will say I expect Philly to actually pass the ball more than they did just a year ago. I don't think Saquon's going to have the historic season that he had. He's still obviously filthy, but point being, in this game, it could kind of replicate what they did last year, which even for him, yeah, he did go over this line plenty, especially at home. You could see here, did pretty well, but still only 3.88 catches per game, right? At home, if you want to say, okay, well, 4.2, like he's not like he's blowing this line away. He hit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times of the times that he ended up hitting it, which would be, what was that, 9 times? So more than half the times he hit it, he did land on 4. So again, Would I be surprised if he catches 4 balls? No, but under 3.5 for -105 odds does seem like it potentially has some legs. The other thing I was considering here would be long reception. Now, this is a little bit risky because I do believe that his line's a little low, and you could see how he did last year. Head to head, though, 2 times in a row stayed under that. And my thought process is that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith should have very, very good games. I think that they should be the go-to guys, right? And if we say, okay, well, when both of these guys play, what happens to his numbers? Last year, he obviously still kind of crushed it, but when he played those games with them, and I think it was at home, numbers seem, yeah, I guess somewhat competitive, 22 to 16.5. Again, it's kind of a risk. I don't think he's going to have the volume to get there, but even with AJ and Devontae Smith, I guess you could say his longest reception seems pretty nice anyways. Like even this, ready? 5, 6, 4, and 8. And on, you know, what was this? 5 targets, 6 targets, 4 targets, 8 targets. Yeah, he hit this. So maybe this would be a spot in which, yeah, this would be the only way that he does hit it with a long one. I don't know. It's a little bit tough, but Goddard, I'm willing to fade to some degree. That being said, I do like both those Cowboys props that I've already given, George Pickens and Dak Prescott. Last but not least, yeah, we're ending with not exactly the sexiest one, but I do like Jake Elliott here over 7.5 kicking points. This could come multiple ways. He can have 2 field goals and a couple extra points. His extra point line is at 2.5 -165. So they expect him to have at least 3 extra points, meaning 3 touchdowns coming by way. And his line right here is at 1.5. So if he kicks 2 field goals at 6 points and 3 extra points, then yeah, we're looking at this line going over. He's hit it in both games against the Cowboys just a year ago, and he hit it in 62%, 13 of 21 last season. Now in his home games, 8 of 12, 67% of games. So yeah, I mean, this is probably a spot in which it's not exactly a sexy pick, but for plus 100 odds, not exactly the worst either. So Jake Elliott over 7.5 kicking points is something that I'd consider in this spot as well. As a reminder, guys, anything that we talk about in this video is stuff that we like. I know I've said it a couple different times, but being the first NFL video here for the regular season, I do want to reiterate, anything that we talk about, make sure to keep an eye on the pinned comment for the final plays if you do want to see if we're actually rolling with it or if we deemed it worthy of us actually to put our own bread on, that type of thing. But yeah, a lot in this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Go ahead and comment 21 down below. You made it well past the 21 mark. Really do appreciate you guys, and very, very excited for this NFL season. We have a bunch of content coming. Me, Tassos, Trey, everybody. Bryce is doing all of the shorts. A bunch of stuff coming down the pipe. So definitely keep an eye out for all that good stuff. And we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.